Hey, what's up everyone? This is going to be part 2 of repotting some stuff from these little greenhouse guys that I've had going for the winter. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do here, so I'm going to try not to take too long doing it. This little guy here, I believe, is Melina. Let me just pop this out. It's definitely a little dry, but it's still going okay. Alright, actually, you know what? I think I might just leave that guy in there. I might leave a couple of these guys in here. The Sarissa, though, this one, I think I might want to take out and split up a little bit because these things don't like to be messed with very much. When you mess with their roots, they're very, very, very fickle. You can see, I'm going to try to get a little closer here. You can see the variegation and stuff still going on them. Unfortunately, my actual Sarissa ended up just kind of unexpectedly dying. Everything else was doing really, really, really good with it for a long time, and it just kind of plopped. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I'm going to leave these guys in here for right now. Just because I think this one... No, this isn't the one even that has the roots hanging out. So I'm going to leave this for now. I think this guy at the end here, depending on what some of these other ones are looking like, I might refill this end one with some fresh stuff and put something new in here, because there's a lot of stuff here that I'm splitting up right now. So anyways, since I'm not going to pull these guys out, I'll show you them. These are Fukian tea tree. This is as well here, as well as this. This guy has obviously dropped its leaves because it got a little drier than I should have let it get, but that is Melina. There's a bunch more Melina that I'll show you that's much healthier. And then that's that Sarissa. So I'm going to leave that off to the side for right now. And let's grab a couple of small guys here. So this is kind of exciting for me because redwoods are one of my favorite trees. And I had a couple of cuttings and they looked like they kind of died. And this one here that I thought was dead right here, just a little while ago I kind of did one of these guys and I tried to pull on it, and as I pulled I noticed a whole bunch of roots in there. So I am going to get my little spade guys out here. And I'm going to try to pry as much out of this thing as I can altogether. Alright. I absolutely love redwoods. They are one of my coolest, or one of my favorite trees. I think they are super, super cool. Maybe I'll even go like this with this side. See if I can move a bunch of it at once. Yeah, there we go. It's gonna break apart anyway, so I'm gonna put some fresh stuff. It's been sitting in some soggy, wet stuff for a long time in there, obviously. Give it that little tap. All right, let's. Oh, that is going deep. Nice. Nice. Oh, that makes me so, so, so happy. Actually, I'm going to put it in a deeper one since it's a lot longer than I expected it to be. Okay. Actually, I might even, while I'm doing this, I'm going to use a tiny little bit of rooting powder. And I'm going to put a little bit right where they're going to go, those bottom roots. kind of entice some of those to do a little bit of extra. Oh, that makes me happier than you could even understand. In the other one over here that I will be getting to after these ones, I have another redwood thing in there that looks kind of dead, so I'm hoping it might actually be the same as this. I thought this one was a goner for sure. And there's also ginkgo in there, which is my actual, like, just completely favorite tree. I find them so fascinating. Them and redwood are two of the oldest trees that they can prove as far as existence. They're definitely classified as prehistoric trees, and they haven't really changed very much since back then, which is kind of awesome. All right. Okay, that is in some fresh stuff. So hopefully that likes that, because this stuff it was sitting in is just wet, and there was not a lot of nutrients or anything going on in it. So hopefully that is good, and it is much happier in here. For now, I'll just start a little tray over here. Now this was kind of the same thing. I thought it was dead, and I went to pull it out, and I noticed a whole whack of roots. So I pull this guy out here. Well, definitely not as much roots, but still a pretty good little bit of roots on the bottom there. Hopefully they're still alive. It's another reason that I wanted to do this now, because I don't want to end up getting root rot if I can avoid it. And just put some of that existing soil that was in right in there, so I do as little upsetting of the roots as possible, because that's always in your best interest. I mean, it's not going to go into shock and lose leaves, because obviously it doesn't have any leaves, but just as far as how it's going to take to the new stuff, and not just putting it into complete shock and killing it. But most plants really want to live, so if you give them the opportunity, most of the time they're going to take it. And it's one of those things I say over and over and over again to people. And always like, oh, I love having plants, but I always kill them. Well, I mean, that's more of a true statement than saying they always die, because them always dying it takes a lot to kill a plant sometimes. Some of these things have been in these Tupperware since way before the winter, and we're in March now. And every once in a while I just open up the lid and let some oxygen in, and then I spray it and mist it, and that's about it. Put a lid back on, and away she goes back. I've always kept them kind of close to my grow lights, so that way they're still getting some light. They're never getting blasted. It's never a crazy amount or anything, but it's always seemed to work. So all right, now this redwood here, it's actually still green, which is fascinating and amazing to me, because it really should have lost its stuff by now, I would have thought, being in there. Everything else did. But if it's still alive, then all the better. Okay, what do we got going on under here? Oh, it's attached down here pretty good. Sure feels like it. Oh, yeah, well, there's some decent little bits of roots, that's for sure. Nice. That is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. For what a little tiny plant this is, that is exciting. Oh, and you will have to excuse me for a moment. The wife is calling. Alright, sorry about that. Wife was calling. The kid needed some help, question with the homework. Planted this guy all down in. It's all in now. And I am so extremely excited about that. I can't even begin to explain. Now, I'm going to split these guys all up. This heavy little lump of stuff here. Just going to take a quick look through since these are all tropicals. I want to make sure that I don't see any weird little things moving around or crawling around anywhere. They were in my basement and there are just in a Rubbermaid, so you never know. A little fly could get in there and lay a bunch of crap. Yeah. Well, if there is anything, I sure as hell can't really see much of anything at all. So, all right, let's start breaking these guys up. I think since there is very clearly some Fukian here and Molina, these are the big Molinas here. I'm going to start breaking this guy up first. This whole little corner block. Chop this up a little bit. See if I can pull this out just on its own. Oh yeah, lots of roots on that guy. Cool. I'm just gonna knock that stuff off of there. The old soggy stuff that's been sitting in for a long time. And that guy is gonna go into this little spot because it's so small. And then it'll live with these other guys while it's finishing rooting better and getting bigger. Because now that these guys have made it through the winter time, I'm going to start giving them a little bit more love. And everything's going to be down to only one or two little things worth of, like, I'll probably only have like the one or two Rubbermaids anymore. I won't need to have a whole bunch of them because a lot of the other stuff's going to end up in bigger training pots. All right, so that's good for now. I'm just going to leave this guy. That's that one that I had before. Put that aside. Now, I wish I had, actually, you know what? I do have one over here. Toss this aside. This guy is full of little loose stuff. Mix it together with a little bit of fresh stuff. Alright. Put a little bit in the bottom for this. Now, that guy looks a little bit bigger, so let's try to remove this one. See what we can get to all come out together. Break it up a little bit because I don't want to rip everything off. Oh, well, that's very surprising. I don't really see any roots to it, but it still seems to be alive. Well, that's extremely interesting. Well, I am going to still put it in this little teeny tiny guy, and I guess we'll see if it ends up taking off and rooting. That's very surprising. I wonder, like, it's been in there for the whole entire time. It's been in there for a couple of months. And it did not really root, and it didn't really die. That's very, very surprising. So, let's, where's some wire here? I got some kind of wire. There we go. Let's just poke a little bit of a hole there for that. Put that guy in there. Alright, well, I guess we'll see if we can get that guy to actually do something now, since it's still somehow alive. That's definitely going to go back into one of the little greenhouse things. try to give it a chance to do its thing. Clean that little root stuff off of the leaf. Okay, that can go over there with these guys. Now, wish I had something a little bit smaller, but I don't. Which one is smaller of these? I guess technically this one. I think it's about the same. This is another Fukian from the look of it. Actually, the leaves look a little bit different. Maybe it's not. Well, whatever it is, has a whole lot of healthy roots going on this one. My goodness. All right, look at that. There's some healthy roots on that one. Okay. Guess I'm going to pull a little bit back out of this. Start setting some of those in there. Be really careful to make sure that you don't leave any weird gaps or anything. Because one thing that does not play well with new roots is big air pockets. It does not like it. I think all of that was actually under the dirt, so what I'll do is sink it in a tiny little bit deeper and fill that guy right up almost to the edge of where it was. It's okay to expose a little bit at a time, but you shouldn't really take a dramatic amount back at a time. Alright, that should be pretty close to good. I might put actually a tiny little bit more in there. Okay, that's going to be it for that guy. Now, the next ones are the bigger Molinas. That's what I was mentioning before. There's a lot of different names for them. My local nursery tends to call them parrot beak. There's a lot of kind of those slang names for them, but the proper name and term is Molina, but it is a silent G. It's G-M-E-L-I-N-A. And they're pretty cool little tropical plants. Set this guy off to the side. Oh, I'll put this lid on because I almost just knocked all those over like an idiot. Okay, now we'll start planting these guys up. Yeah, the Molinas are pretty cool. Actually, the other one's kind of a pain in the butt to go and grab right now. I'm not going to bother. I was going to say I'll go and grab my slightly more full-size one, the one that I took all the cuttings and stuff from, but it's all good. I'm sure if you're interested enough in them, you can find all kinds of stuff online about them. They're very easy to find. They're very cool plants. They kind of almost have an ivy-ish look. Make sure that this is all together. Beautiful. Let's knock a little bit of that heavy stuff off. Don't need all of that on there, especially the soggy stuff. There we go. Beautiful. Nice little root system on that guy. Nice. Okay, so I'll put this and do the same thing. A little deeper than that. We'll start just kind of layering it in. Beautiful. Make sure there's no weird little gaps. Alright, a little tiny bit more soil up on the top. And that guy will be all done. These are, I mean, obviously you can pretty much tell because of what a crude and rudimentary way I've kept them for months now, but these are very hardy plants. I pretty much actually kind of almost killed mine by accident. I left it out in the front room. I have a front little bit of a sunroom. Some days I kind of leave a couple plants in there just to get a little bit more of a hothouse, kind of a greenhouse thing going on. And I left it out there for a day or two too long because I forgot about it like an idiot. And it was so dried out that every single leaf on it was cooked or fell off. I thought the thing was completely dead. I was sure that it was dead. I was super happy that I had some of these cuttings that seemed like they were doing okay, because I thought this was the only way that I was going to have it anymore. Now you can kind of see a very interesting, almost ivy-ish kind of a shape to the leaves. But yeah, here, actually, I'll just grab it real quick, one sec. So the one that I thought was completely dead, the one that I cooked beyond almost all recognition, I actually have to give a trim to because it is going like absolute crazy now, and I've cut it back since all of these cuttings that have rooted and stuff. So yeah, it it didn't die. I was very afraid that it did, but it most definitely did not die. All right, let's keep these going. We've got another couple of these ones here. Actually, I might even, yeah, for the next couple, I'm gonna probably just do another little bit of a time lapse, because it's just a couple more of these Molinas, at least in this stuff right here. There's just a couple more of these Molinas and a couple of Calamondin, and I was already kind of covering those earlier on. I was already talking about them a bunch. So I feel like we don't need to keep on talking about those or anything like that. So I'll do a little bit of a, oh, look at that. They're both kind of coming out together. Well, that's interesting. Break this stuff off and make sure they're not completely intertwined. Nope. Look at that. They're doing their own things. Beautiful. Okay. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to do a time lapse. And then when I'm done all of these ones, when I go to open up the other case or whatever, I will do another little video. And what does that make sure? Okay, it's just the leaf. I was just making sure there wasn't any kind of weird stuff. It's a little tiny bit bumpy on the back, but I think it's probably because these leaves have been suffering. They've been on there for months and months with very little light or nutrition or anything. Yeah, I'll do that time lapse, and when I go and cut into the other cool stuff, we will go back to some regular speed, and I'll talk about a couple more plants. Cool. Okay, so I have done all of the other ones. I'll just kind of show you real quick that tray. The Calamondin leaves, surprisingly, the Calamondin, all three of them are still completely alive and very, very healthy, and there was no roots on any of them. And they have been in there for months and months. So that was kind of surprising to me. So I just dipped them back in a little bit of rooting powder and put them in a bit of dirt just for the hell of it, since they're still hanging on. That was very weird, but there's the redwood, the Molinas, all that stuff. But these elms right here that are all obviously rooting through, and these are honeysuckle privet, which is a tree, kind of shrubbish kind of a tree. Those are obviously all doing good. And I think I'm gonna split these up into some more of those cell packs. They're not big enough to justify putting in their own pots right now. They're pretty small still, but I think I'm gonna put them in one of those cell packs and let the ones that are living and doing their thing get a little bit healthier, and let them get slightly root bound in those little packs. And then I will transfer them to something bigger. It'll give them a chance to get slightly more established and a little bit bigger first. So yeah, I'm gonna just do a time lapse and do those. I'm not gonna bother splitting them all up or anything like that and making you listen to all my blabbing. One cool thing I did notice before I do that though is that this guy here got some aerial roots. There's a bunch of them that are going down into the soil, and they're all stuck in there really good. So I'm pretty sure they're actually living and doing their thing. So that was pretty interesting. I've never really seen one of those trees or anything like that have aerial roots before. So yeah, guess we'll just do that and split these all up. Woo. Okay, so we are all done with the last little batch of stuff. I've got some new trays out here. Some of these things I'm going to try to keep clustered together, but I'm going to end up moving them up from the size that they're at, so that's why I have one of these bigger ones. Besides that, just going to use the same old little stuff. There might even be a few of these that I end up kind of just transferring over to the other thing and leaving them the way that they are, but let's take a look. This one has a lot of stuff I'm very excited about. So this is a perfect example. These are all Fukian tea trees, even more of them. Yes, I know, I apparently have way more even than I realized I have. But these are all still doing really, really well. And there's a little tiny bit of a couple of bits of root starting to pop out from there. But realistically, I can just kind of leave these and let these keep on going in these for a while. I'm going to probably fertilize them now that they have been living for as long as they have. They are basically sitting in, it's not 100% sphagnum, but it's more or less just pretty much sphagnum, very, very heavy mix. So there's not really much as the way of nutrients or anything in there. So I'm going to definitely put some fertilizer on those now that they are established enough as they are. But that's pretty awesome. I'm very happy that those are all doing good. I can set these aside for now. Okay. Next tray, let's see what we have going on here. These are some elms. Kind of the same situation. Not really any extreme rooting going on, but they're very clearly all still alive. There's new growth going on this one that's still all fairly fresh. It's still all bright, bright green. So yeah, it seems like they're all rooted in there pretty good. They're all hanging on. So yeah, again, same situation. I'm just going to kind of leave this guy. I'm going to let him keep on doing this thing. There's no point in messing around with it or anything, especially if it's not necessary. I will leave that out though, because there are some open squares. And if there's something that I can put into those open squares, I would rather fill up the space and not utilize a bunch of space for no reason in there. Now these look like some of them have gotten a little dry, but these are more Molina. And obviously that one has rooted very, very, very well. This redwood I'm not sure about. I guess there's only one way to find out, and that is let's bust these things open and see. You know what? It's like, well, yeah. I was gonna say I might want to just leave these in here as well and let these keep on going. I don't know how I feel about that. Kind of torn about this one. I'm not 100% what I want to do with this one yet. I am going to go and put this in some water to bottom feed. I know that because a couple of these seem like they haven't seen enough water in a bit and they could really, really use it. So that's what I'm going to probably do with this one. I don't know if I'm going to mess with this. This Melina here is the only one that seems to be really rooted to an extreme, this middle guy. This redwood is still hanging on, but I don't see much in the way of roots. And I don't know how I feel about disturbing it if they're just kind of starting. It's obviously not enough that it's pumping all at the bottom and stuff. So I'm kind of torn about what I'm going to do with that guy.
for right now, I think I'm just going to set this one aside. You know what? There's 3 squares there. You know what I might do is compact all this together. So there's 3 squares open in this one. So what I'm going to do is take the stuff out of, let's put it in here for now. Take the stuff out of, oops, flung that around. Come on, loosen up from down there. There we go. Get all of that out of that one. Man, some sloppy stuff down at the bottom. Well, these ones definitely didn't have that problem like the other one of drying out all the way through, because that was still very, very moist all the way down. Okay, next one. So basically all I'm going to do here is just open up these spaces in the cube, and then if the other ones have taken, I'm just going to slide those right in. And I think those Molinas that are already kind of doing okay, I think I'm going to put those into some little planters and let them start doing their thing, because the one is obviously rooted very, very well, so it doesn't need to stay in there. But some of these ones could still use some time in these little baby trainers. There's no point in rushing them into something bigger if they haven't established a good, healthy root system yet, because sometimes you're just going to end up almost setting them back, if not killing them. So, okay, well, let's see what's up with these ones that I want to use. Let's see if this has done anything at all. Oh yeah, awesome. All right, so that one is just gonna get slid right into that space there. Let's brush off anything that's dead. Just want to make sure that none of this stuff is anything weird. I think it's just all the remnants. Yeah, it's just the leftovers from the little bits of branch that broke off and stuff at the end of the season. The rest of it seems like it's all good. Everything's still flexible, nothing's breaking or anything. So that's always a good sign. Okay, that one's good. Let's check this guy out. I'm hoping that it's in the same situation. I don't see much of anything. I see a little tiny bit, but it's still alive and green, so that's at least a good sign. I'll leave it in there for a little bit and see if it manages to hang on. If it doesn't, oh well, it was just a cutting anyways in the first place. Just something I was really kind of hoping would do well. So if it does, awesome. And we have one more open space here. This one is going to get used. I guess we'll pop both of these out. Whichever one is the one that seems the weakest or needs the longest still in the cell, that will be the one that goes in. I'm going to already guess that it's this guy, because there is definitely some roots going on there, but it's nothing too extreme. So I'm just going to slide this guy in there. He's small anyways. All right. Okay, so that one's all good and taken care of. Now, what to do with these? It's got some roots going on, and the other one is the one that has the big long root. So what I think I'm going to do is these are going to be ones that end up in this thing. So I guess I'm going to just end up dumping that dirt out of there anyhow, because I want some fresh stuff in there. Just going to fill these all up real quick, at least kind of halfway. And again, I don't know if you watched the first video or anything like that, but The mix that I'm using right now is probably about, I'd say close to 2/3 or so of Miracle Grow, and the other third, maybe just over, but I'd say probably the other third is sphagnum and just a little bit of stuff to kind of keep it loosened up and keep the moisture kind of nice and distributed evenly. Okay, so those are all like that. Nothing packed down too much. So I'm just going to turn that background music down a tiny little bit. I don't want to have to yell over it or anything. So this little guy we'll put right down on the end. And we'll just kind of slide that in the middle of this, just like that. Try not to disturb it too much, but this way it'll have some stuff with nutrients instead of just sitting in a block of sphagnum. I mean, you can fertilize the sphagnum, like more water or whatever that you're pouring over the sphagnum, and that's always, you know, totally sufficient in some ways, but for the long run, I mean, it's just kind of better to do it this way, and then you don't have to keep on relying on that. This way there's actual nutrients in the soil that it's taking up, and you can also fertilize it, so definitely the better option. When I am these blocks though, these are pretty much just sphagnum. There is the tiniest bit of some topsoil. I think it's actually fruit and vegetable soil because I just had some left. I don't remember, something like that, but just so that way there was something with a tiny bit of nutrients in it, and the rest of it is just straight sphagnum. Anytime I'm trying to root something, that's basically all I use. And if I'm worried about it, or if it's a cutting that I don't think is going to work otherwise, sometimes I'll use a little bit of rooting powder, but besides that, I just kind of let it do its thing. There we go. You can see that one is really good and healthy. I'm just going to set that there for a second. And do the same thing with this one next to it. Just kind of open up the soil a little bit. This one I'm going to open a little further because it's got the root hanging at the bottom, and I'm going to tuck that in first. Make sure that's all tucked down there good in the soil. Then we'll push this guy in. Fill in the rest of the space. Beautiful. So both of those should probably take pretty well. I mean, if they don't, they don't. Again, they were just cuttings. Nothing I've invested much money in. Definitely some time, but you know, when this is one of your hobbies or something that you love to do, then the time doesn't really feel like much work. There's a lot of things that I do like that some people would say that it's definitely putting in work, and I guess in some ways it is, but they're things that I love to do anyhow, so I don't really see them as that most of the time. Okay, now I'm going to leave the Calamondin for the end because you've already seen a bunch of those if you've been watching the earlier stuff or the last videos. But one thing I will show is these ones are doing well enough that it has actually flowered. That's what the blossoms look like, and man, they smell amazing. It smells almost kind of like an orange blossom. They smell fantastic. So I'm not going to bother doing those on camera because I've already showed a bunch of those. Actually, there's another flower bud right there getting ready to open up. It's so as you can tell, those are doing well, but I'm going to set those aside for now, and we will move on to what I think is the most exciting one for me, and I'm kind of nervous because I have a feeling that it didn't really do anything, but this is a ginkgo biloba. It is called biloba because when it's not curled up like that, it has a double-lobed leaf. Bi as in two. This, along with the redwoods, are basically the most prehistoric plants that they can prove are still alive. They've found fossils of these alongside dinosaurs Same with the redwood. So I've always been very fascinated with them. So this is what I'm going to be kind of nervous about, because it seems like it is hung on. This leaf is still hanging on. The other ones fell off way early, but I'm just scared that I'm going to pull that out and it's not going to have taken, and I'm going to have to start all over again with another cutting. But again, it is what it is, especially when it comes to plant stuff. And then this is just on both sides of it, this is just more Chinese elm, both here and here. I guess I could just kind of do this real quick with these, with the Chinese elm, because I'm going to put those into these things as well. I'll put that in the middle. Yeah, I'll put that in the middle one. Just like that. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you can probably see that on the camera. I'm just kind of guessing I'm on the other side of it. Alright, let's drop that in the middle there. Perfect. I always love when it just seems to sit in there just right. Okay, and this other one, we'll see if this took as well. Some of these were just the most tiny little cuttings, and I just had the space available in these cubes, so I just kind of stuck them in. And I mean, I'm really not kidding, some of them were so small. Oh no, there's roots. Cool. Some of these were so tiny, and I just kind of was like, oh well, there's an open square there, let's just shove a little piece in. And especially when it comes to the elm and Schefflera, both of them, in my experience, I mean, maple to a small extent, but more of the North American maple. A lot of Japanese maples don't take very well to being cuttings. I tried a lot, and only a couple of them even came close to doing well. At least so far. I'm sure I'll learn more tricks along the way, but elm, it seems like you can just cut off any single piece of an elm. I have a chunk of just a trunk that I just soaked in water for a couple of days, and then I shoved in some dirt, and there's sprouts off the top of it. It's going to be the coolest little stumpy tree. It's going to be awesome. All right, moment of truth time. One more time, and just sitting here blabbing away, pretending like I'm actually talking about other things when I'm just really nervous to do this. Oh yes, there's roots. Oh, I almost just swore there. I'm so happy. Holy effing F. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy right now. If you're watching this, you are experiencing a very happy moment in my life. I know, with a kid and dog, it's my best friend of over 10 years, and the wifey and everything else and all that stuff. There should be a lot of other really happy moments, but I'm telling you, this is pretty high up there. Pretty high up there. I'm gonna actually just kind of do this a little bit. Some of the side. Try to promote a little bit of extra root stuff going on. Oh my goodness. I am so happy right now. All right. Ginkgo, yes. Let's face the leaf back in. So that way, depending where I want to put this thing, it's not going to hang in the way of anything else. Oh my goodness. I am so ecstatic right now that is, and those were some thick roots. I didn't want to try to mess with it too much because I'm nervous. I'm so happy that it actually is working. I don't want to mess with it any more than I need to. But man, some of those roots were hardy, really like almost as thick as this part of it here. It's unbelievable how thick that was. Wow. Okay, so now that I'm in a fantastic mood, absolutely fantastic mood, Let's pull out the last one. We have some really cool big elms sprouting here and a bunch of little baby cedars. And the elms are the only things that have really rooted a ton. So I think I'm gonna let those cedars, you know what? The roots aren't going too crazy in these yet. So I think I'm gonna do the same thing. I think I'm going to take out this end guy here. Come on. And this end guy here. Come on. Come on, baby. There you go. And there is a middle one here. I'm going to do that in the middle one as well. And I'm going to fill those empty spaces with the 3 little cedars. And I'm just going to let these guys, again, with some of those other things that they clearly could still use some time. Just going to let them keep on doing their thing. So first things first, let's deal with these cedars and get these out. Be really gentle with this. Well, there's still some good roots, but I'm going to need some fresh stuff in the bottom. There we go. Okay, that guy looks, actually, top that off. It's nice and right up to the brim. That one's good. This guy's going to go on the other end because it seems to be taking up the most real estate above ground. Same thing. Looks like it's doing pretty well, but the roots don't go all the way down. So I'm just going to leave that top little half as unmessed with as possible because they are not fans of having their roots messed with when they're young especially. But they're kind of always pretty fickle about it. And the last one here. Come on, stay together, baby. Like I said, I just don't want to mess with the roots any more than I need to. All right, perfect. So let's just fill this last space, kind of halfway up like the others. There we go. Just it almost fell apart right at the last second. So close to disaster. When they're growing out in the wild, they can take it a lot more, being pulled out and transplanted and stuff, but I found most of the ones that you try to grow inside, or any ones that are in little things like this, when you rough up the roots too much, they are very much not a fan of it at all. So this is good. I'm going to actually clean out the inside of that thing before I put them all back in there. So I guess for now, I'm just going to do this. Let's put these over here. Still got to deal with those. These ones are done. We're good for now. Okay, so I think the one of these can probably go in here, and the other one is going to go into this tiny little pot here. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so this one, nice. That one's good and healthy. That's going to go into this guy here. Let's kind of turn it a little bit. There we go. I want it to grow on that weird angle like that still, but I just don't want it to, I don't want them interfering with each other too much. Once they get bigger and more established, it doesn't matter. They'll just kind of grow next to each other or through each other, but for right now, I would rather try to keep it as happy and healthy as possible. All right, so that one there, that's the Chinese elm, Melina, Chinese elm, and Chinese elm, and Ginkgo biloba. So that one's done. That one's going to go over here as well. And then there's just this last one. So as you can see, this is just all from one single little cutting. And it was just one tiny little cutting when I put it in there. It's, so, yeah, I'm going to let this guy start going wild on his own. I'm just going to move some of this crap out of my way. Fill this guy up most of the way. Do the same thing. I'm just going to kind of put the, maybe a little bit more. There we go. That is a big piece of bark for this little tiny thing. Sometimes when you find those big hunks of bark, they're actually really good. So if it's too big for the little tiny planter you're using, just grab it and snap it in half. It's been sitting in soil. They're super decomposed. They just kind of snap apart really easily. Because it's good to have it in there, but sometimes the chunks are a little aggressively big, depending on the size of what it is that you're potting up, or in this case, repotting. Wild. I'm gonna bring the soil back a tiny little bit, since this bit seems to be coming from down here. Just gonna expose a tiny little bit more trunk, and let this be a bottom branch instead of something that's just somehow coming up out of the soil. But the rest of it seems very happy and healthy. So let's see, let's think about a potting angle, because this is a good chance to start it on an interesting journey. Let's kind of go like this for now. Yeah, I like that. Cool. I like that a lot. So you can get an idea of how interesting or weird or different these plants can be, the Chinese elms. You can see twisted trunk ones, you can see informal upright, literati. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff with them because they're a very adaptable and very hardy tree. Again, like I was saying about them taking so well all the cuttings. But to give you an idea, this guy right here it's going to be pretty cool for sure. But that guy came from, let me just run over here really quick, move some of these things out of the way, get rid of that rooting powder. All those cuttings, at least most of them, excuse me, came from this guy here. And I have some very big plans for what's going to happen with this guy. It is not going to look anything like this, probably even next year. But when I got this, it was much, much smaller. To give you an idea of size, that's my hand to the pot. It's getting pretty big. And again, all of those elms that I've just been transplanting and whatnot, those all came off of this guy himself. At least the large majority of them. There's a couple of them that came from a Siberian elm that is in the parking lot of a shop that I work at, but outside of that, now it came from this guy right here. So you can kind of get an idea way, way, way down the road. These things grow pretty slowly. I know that all these little thin guys sprout out pretty quick, but it takes a long time for this stuff to start beefing up. And that wood, that elm, holy, don't try to use normal snips unless you want to ruin your normal snips, because I'll tell you, those little pinch style cutters, even on something this thin, it's almost hard to cut through. It's incredible how hard this wood gets very, very, very quickly, which is why a lot of the time the branches are a little bit brittle. If you kind of bend them really hard or anything, they'll just kind of snap. So luckily those ones all aren't. It's just in the middle of flushing back out and filling back out again. And then I'm going to be starting some project stuff, some air layering, and it's going to end up being a very, very, very cool project in the end. But as far as all the transplanting stuff, I guess that's about it. Done all the stuff that I wanted to do. You guys got to be here for a very exciting moment when I found out that my ginkgo lived through the winter, or I should say my ginkgo cutting. It's not really a full ginkgo yet. Hopefully it will be at some point, someday. But yeah, I guess for right now, we're going to kind of leave it at that. And I'm going to go and start putting some of these things away, get out my misting bottle, and give everything a good mist before I put it back in its place or put it back inside any of those little greenhouses. And that's going to be it for me for the night. So hopefully, I know there probably wasn't super, overwhelming amount of information here, but hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing some of the different types of plants. I don't know if I did say anything cool about any of them, probably not, just rambling like always, but yeah, hopefully you at least enjoyed it, and hopefully you guys keep on coming back. If you haven't subscribed already to stuff, definitely do, because it helps other people find these videos and get to enjoy watching stuff about plants that they like or maybe that they're interested in. And yeah, that's going to be about it for me for the night. So hopefully all you guys are enjoying yourselves and your plants as well. I know that at least everywhere around my part of the world, coming up right now that it's March, I've started all the seeds for all my peppers and a bunch of vegetables and stuff, so that way they can be ready for in that kind of 6 to 10 week window, depending on what it is. And hopefully you guys are all enjoying your stuff and getting ready for your outdoor spring and summer enjoyment as well. And until we talk next time, keep on growing, and everybody take it easy. Night, y'all.